The communication room of the trade station Harmony 7 was quiet at 3 in the morning. Commander Teo sat in his chair with cold coffee in his hand, watching the endless stream of data flow across the screens in front of him. He had been doing this job for 23 years, and most nights were exactly like this one, boring, peaceful, and forgettable. The screens showed nothing but normal traffic, ships coming and going, merchants selling their goods, the galaxy running on its usual rhythm. Teo was a tall man with a scarred face and tired eyes. His hair had turned gray at the temples, and he moved slowly, like someone who had seen too much and was tired of seeing more. He had fought in 3 wars, commanded 5 different stations, and lost more friends than he could count. Now, at 55 years old, he wanted nothing more than a quiet retirement on some peaceful colony world. He would get there soon, just a few more years. The coffee was bad. It had been bad for the last hour, but Teo drank it anyway. He looked at his watch. 3 more hours until the next shift arrived, and then he could finally leave. He closed his eyes for just a moment. The alarm sound that came next was not loud, but it was wrong. It was the kind of sound that made every person in the room wake up immediately, even if they had been sleeping. The kind of sound that meant something bad was happening somewhere far away. "We have an incoming message," said Lieutenant Minho from his station. His voice was calm, but his hands moved quickly across his controls. "It is not on any normal frequency. It is broadcasting on all channels at once." Teo's eyes opened. He stood up and walked to Minho's station. "Show me," he said. The screen flickered, and then a woman's face appeared. She looked tired, just like Teo. Her name was Dr. Hei Wan, and she was the leader of the scientific team at Meridian Station, a small research outpost on the edge of human space. Teo knew her name because he had read about her work once. She was studying something about wormholes, something about the way space could bend and fold. "This is Dr. Hei Wan," the woman said in the message. Her voice shook a little, but she spoke clearly. "I am sending this message from Meridian Station. This is an emergency. The Vorkath Empire has discovered our location. They have sent a conquest fleet. They will arrive in 72 hours. The room became very still. Everyone who worked in space communications knew about the Vorkath Empire. They knew that the Vorkath had never lost a battle. They knew that when the Vorkath conquered a planet, they took everything, the resources, the technology, the people. They knew that the Vorkath did not accept surrender, and they did not leave any choice for the people they conquered. Dr. Hei Wan continued speaking. "We are a small station. We have scientists and engineers, but we are not a military outpost. We do not have the power to fight a Vorkath fleet. But we are humans. And I am sending this message to every human in the galaxy. I do not know if anyone will hear this. I do not know if anyone will come. But I know that we do not surrender. I know that humans fight. I know that humans protect their own." She paused. Her eyes looked directly at the camera, directly at everyone who would hear these words. "If anyone receives this message, if anyone is brave enough or foolish enough to hear my call, then come. Come with whatever you have. Come with hope. Come with weapons. Come with your hearts. Come and let the galaxy know that humans are not easy to kill. Come and let the Vorkath Empire know that we will fight until the end." The message ended. The screen went black. For a moment, nobody in the communication room spoke. Then everyone started talking at once. Some people were afraid. Some people were angry. Some people were already thinking about what they needed to do. Teo walked back to his chair and sat down. He put the cold coffee on the desk next to him. He thought about Dr. Hei Wan's face. He thought about her words. He thought about what she was really asking. She was not asking for a rescue. She was not asking for soldiers from the military. She was asking for humans to answer her call. She was asking her people to come, no matter who they were or where they were. "Send a message to all human settlements," he said quietly. "Tell them we received a distress call. Tell them the details. Tell them—" He stopped. He knew what would happen next. He knew that some people would answer her call, because that was what humans did. They answered calls from their own people. They did not abandon them. They did not leave them to face the darkness alone. "Tell them," he continued, "that a human woman has broadcast a message to the galaxy. Tell them that we will not forget her name. Tell them that Dr. HFY and her team are waiting for us." Lieutenant Minho nodded and began sending the messages. Within minutes, the signal had spread across the entire human network. From the biggest colonies to the smallest outposts, humans began receiving Dr. HFY's call. Some of them were in the military. Some of them were mechanics, pilots, engineers, and simple workers. Some of them were far away in deep space, working on ships that should have taken them home months ago. But they all heard the same thing. They all heard a woman's voice telling them that humans do not surrender. They all heard her asking them to come, to stand with her, to tell the galaxy that humans will fight. In the communication room, Teo closed his eyes again. He thought about his daughter, who was a fighter pilot somewhere in the outer colonies. He thought about whether she would hear this message. He thought about whether she would try to come, and whether he should be proud of her or afraid for her. Then he thought about Dr. HFY, alone on her little station, sending a message to the stars and hoping that someone would hear her. And he knew that the quiet, boring life he had planned for himself was over. The galaxy had just changed. A woman with a good heart had thrown a stone into the darkness, and now the whole universe would feel the ripples. Teo stood up one more time. "I am going to send a personal response to Dr. HFY," he said. "Tell her that Commander Teo has received her message. Tell her that Harmony 7 will do everything we can to help. Tell her that she is not alone." As he spoke these words, he did not know that across the entire galaxy, thousands of humans were hearing the same message in their hearts. He did not know that ships were already changing course, heading toward Meridian Station. He did not know that the most important battle in human history was about to begin. All he knew was that a woman had called for help, and humans answered. That was enough. Captain Min Q was moving cargo on the merchant ship Iron Dawn when he heard the news. He was a trader, a man who bought and sold things across the galaxy. He was not a soldier. He had never wanted to be a soldier. But his hands stopped moving when the message from Dr. HFY came through the ship's speaker system. He stood in the cargo hold of his ship, listening to her words. When she finished speaking, he stood there for a long time without moving. Around him, the boxes of items he was supposed to deliver to a rich colony were waiting to be organized. They could wait. They would have to wait. Minkyu was a strong man with a kind face. He had seen most of the galaxy in his 40 years of life. He had made friends on 100 different worlds. He had made enemies on a few. But he had never run from danger, and he had never refused to help someone in trouble. He went to the bridge of his ship and changed course. The Iron Dawn turned away from the wealthy colony where he was supposed to deliver cargo. Instead, it began to move toward a place called Meridian Station. Minkyu sent a message to the people waiting for his cargo, telling them he would not be coming. He knew he would lose money on this deal. He knew his business partners would be angry. He did not care. On another ship, far across space, Lieutenant Ji-won sat in the cockpit of a fighter plane called a Night Runner. She was fast, smart, and dangerous. She had been trained by the military to fight, and she was very good at it. But the military leaders had given her orders not to move. They said that the situation at Meridian Station was not their problem. They said that it was too far away, and it was too risky. Ji-won listened to these orders. Then she ignored them. She was young enough to believe that some things were more important than orders. She was also the daughter of Commander Teo, which meant she understood that sometimes doing the right thing meant disobeying the people in charge. She pushed her fighter's engines to full power and left her military station without permission. As she flew through space, she thought about what her father would say when he found out what she had done. She imagined he would be angry. She also imagined that he would understand. In a small repair station orbiting a dead planet, engineer Sung-ho received the message while he was fixing a broken engine. He was not young anymore. He was 50 years old and his body hurt most of the time. He had spent his whole life making sure that ships worked, making sure that the machines that carried people across the stars did not fail. He loved his work, but he had always imagined that when he finally stopped working, he would sit on a beach somewhere and watch the water. Instead, he walked out of the repair station and looked at the 3 old patrol ships that belonged to his station. They were not very good ships. They were slow, and their weapons were outdated. But they were ships, and they could fight. Sung-ho began calling the people who worked with him. He told them about Dr. Haewon's call. He asked them if they wanted to go. All of them said yes. It was not a difficult question. They were all people who had chosen to live far from home, in places where nobody was comfortable. They understood what it meant to fight for something that mattered. The 3 ships began to move toward Meridian Station. But the most important arrival was about to come from the deep black, the part of space that no one really knew. From a place so far away that most people thought it was just a story, a ship called the Defiant appeared. It was a legendary ship, built for fighting and nothing else. It was commanded by Captain Dong-soo, a man who no one knew very much about. Dong-soo had been gone from human space for so long that many people had forgotten he existed. But he had heard the message from Dr. Haewon, just like everyone else. And he had pointed his ship toward Meridian Station, moving faster than most ships could move. The Defiant was not like other human ships. It was armed with weapons that had been built from technology that no one was supposed to have. It was crewed by people who had trained together for years in the deep black, fighting enemies that the rest of the galaxy did not know existed. Dong-soo and his crew were legends, and now they were coming. Meanwhile, at Meridian Station, Dr. Haewon was not waiting helplessly for rescue. She was working with her team to prepare. She knew that if she was going to survive, she could not count on rescue alone. She had to make her research station into something more. She had to make it into a weapon. Her assistant was a young woman named Min Seo. Min Seo was brilliant and brave, and she had been told to evacuate with the other non-essential staff. But she had refused to leave. She wanted to stay and help Dr. Haewon finish the work they had started. The work involved the strange wormhole that they had discovered. The work involved understanding the physics of space itself. If we can control the wormhole, Dr. Haewon told Min Seo, we can use it to protect the station. We can use it to hurt the Vorkath ships. We can use it to make them regret that they ever came here. Min Seo nodded. She understood. The 2 women began working on equations that nobody had worked on before. They began trying to do things that everyone said was impossible. Across the galaxy, human ships were moving toward Meridian Station. They came from places far and near. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some were warships with real weapons. Some were cargo ships that had been filled with explosives. Some were small fighters, piloted by brave men and women who knew they might not come home. They did not come because they were ordered to come. They came because Dr. Haewon had called, and humans answered calls from their own people. They came because they believed in something bigger than themselves. They came because the alternative was to abandon one of their own, and humans did not do that. The Vorkath Empire did not know what was happening. The Vorkath commanders looked at their reports and saw no reason to be afraid. They saw scattered human ships, some of them very old. They saw a small research station with no real defenses. They laughed at the foolishness of humanity. They did not understand that they had just invited the galaxy's greatest danger to fight them. They did not understand that they had just woken up something that should have been left sleeping. The human ships continued to move through space, carrying thousands of brave people toward a battle that would change everything. And as they moved, they thought about the words of a woman named Dr. Haewon. who had told them that humans do not surrender and that they protect their own. Commander Teo stood in the command center of a military station, looking at the messages that had come from his daughter. He had not spoken to Ji-won in 3 months. The last time they had talked, she had said she wanted to do something important with her life. He had told her to be careful, to follow orders, to not take unnecessary risks. Now she was telling him that she had disobeyed orders to come and fight beside him. He should have been angry. According to all the rules, he should have been furious. But as he read her messages again, he realized something. He was proud of her. He was terrified for her, but he was proud. Ji-won's fighter was approaching the gathering place where the human fleet was forming up. She could see the other ships now. There were ships from everywhere. There were military vessels and cargo ships, fighters and transports. There were ships that were brand new and ships that looked like they should have been scrapped years ago. But they were all here. They were all moving toward the same place, toward Meridian Station, and toward the battle that was coming. In her cockpit, Ji-won's hands moved across the controls with perfect confidence. She had trained for this. She had always known, deep down inside, that when the moment came, she would be ready. She had also always known that when the moment came, she would find her father waiting. The thought made her smile. She sent a message to her father's command station. "This is Lieutenant Ji-won. I am approaching the fleet. I am ready to fight. Father, I hope you will forgive me for disobeying orders. But I know you would have done the same thing." Teo read the message, and he felt his eyes getting wet. He did not wipe away the tears. Instead, he recorded his own message. "Lieutenant Ji-won, welcome to the fleet. Your orders are to follow my instructions exactly, and yes, I would have done the same thing. I am proud of you." Engineer Sung-ho was working on his 3 patrol ships when the other crews arrived. They had gathered around him like children waiting for a teacher to tell them a story. Sung-ho was old enough to be a father to most of them, and he had the kind of voice that made people want to listen. "We are not going to win this battle with ships or weapons," he told them. "The Vorkath have better ships. They have better weapons. They have more soldiers and better training. So how are we going to win?" He paused and looked at each person in the group. "We are going to win because we are human. We are going to win because we do not give up. We are going to win because we are willing to die for something that matters. The Vorkath are good at conquest, but they have never fought people who love something more than they love their own lives." Sung-ho pointed at the 3 old ships. "These ships have seen better days, but they have seen more battles than most ships in the galaxy. They have carried brave people, and they are going to carry us into history." The crew cheered. It was not a loud cheer. It was not an angry cheer. It was the cheer of people who knew what they were walking toward and who had decided that it was worth the cost. Captain Min-kyu was in the cargo hold of his ship, removing the boxes of cargo that he was supposed to deliver. He was replacing them with every weapon and supply that he could find. He was converting a merchant ship into something that could fight. He was doing something that no sensible merchant would ever do. But Min-kyu was not thinking about being sensible anymore. He was thinking about a woman he had never met, who had sent a message into the darkness and changed everything. He was thinking about what kind of person would do that. What kind of person would call for help knowing that help might not come? That kind of person deserved to have someone answer her call. At Meridian Station, Dr. Hae-won and Min-seo were still working on their equations. They had barely slept in 3 days. The work was difficult and complicated, but it was also beautiful. They were trying to understand the very nature of space itself. They were trying to use knowledge to create a weapon that had never existed before. "Do you think it will work?" Min-seo asked at one point. "No," Dr. Hae-won said honestly. "I think the probability of success is very low. But we have to try, because if we do not try, then we have already lost." Min-seo nodded. She understood. The wormhole itself was strange and wonderful. It sat at the center of their research station, a hole in space that led to somewhere else. It was unstable, which is why they had been studying it. But Dr. Haywan had realized something important. An unstable wormhole could be made more unstable, and an unstable wormhole could be used as a weapon. She had sent messages to all the human ships, telling them to arrive from specific directions. She had told them where to position themselves. She had explained that the wormhole would do something when it activated, something that would hurt the Vorkath more than it hurt the humans. She had asked them to trust her, and they had said yes. Now, as the battle approached, everyone was in place. The human ships were gathering in a formation that made no sense to military strategists, but it made perfect sense to a physicist. It was the formation that would work best with the unstable wormhole. Captain Dongsu sat in the command center of the Defiant, looking at all the information coming in from the other human ships. He was impressed. He had expected to find humans who would fight, and he had found them. But he had not expected to find so many or so well coordinated. He sent a message to all the ships. "This is Captain Dongsu of the Defiant. I have seen many battles. I have fought against enemies that the galaxy does not know about. I can tell you with certainty that what we are about to do is impossible. And yet, we will do it, because that is what humans do." In the darkness of space, thousands of humans prepared for the battle that would change everything. They checked their weapons. They reviewed their orders. They thought about the people they loved back home. They thought about why they were here. And they waited for the Vorkath Empire to arrive. The galaxy did not know it yet, but it was about to witness something that had never been seen before. It was about to see what happened when a species that had evolved to survive pushed back against the power that had tried to conquer them. The galaxy was about to see humans fight. The Vorkath fleet appeared on the horizon of space like a dark cloud moving across a sky. It was huge. It was unstoppable. It was everything that humans had feared for 1,000 years. The Vorkath ships were built like weapons. They were dark and angular, designed for one purpose only, to destroy and to conquer. Each ship was bigger than 5 human ships put together. Each ship had weapon systems that had conquered entire worlds. The Vorkath did not need to be clever. They could simply push through any resistance with pure power. At the front of the Vorkath fleet was the command ship, where Overlord Vexathon sat in his seat of power. Vexathon was ancient and terrible. He had conquered more worlds than most species had even discovered. He had never lost a battle. He had never faced an enemy that could stand against him for more than a few hours. The humans registered on his sensors as nothing, just small ships scattered in a pattern that meant nothing. He sent the order to attack, and the Vorkath fleet moved forward like a tide moving across a beach. Then, something strange happened. Instead of running away, the human ships moved toward the Vorkath fleet. They were moving toward certain destruction, but they were moving toward it on purpose. Captain Min Q was in the cockpit of his merchant ship, the Iron Dawn. He could see the Vorkath fleet on his screens now. They filled the screen. There were more of them than stars. He knew in his heart that he was going to die in the next few minutes. He had accepted this. It was not a sad thought. It was a simple fact. He activated the communication systems and sent a message to all the other human ships. "This is Captain Min Q. I am going to do something stupid, but I think it will make a difference. Anyone who wants to follow me, now is the time." 12 ships responded immediately. They said yes. They said they would follow him. They said they understood what he was planning. Min Q pointed the Iron Dawn toward the largest Vorkath ship, a massive dreadnought that carried weapons powerful enough to destroy a city. He increased the speed to maximum. The ship shook from the force of the acceleration. In the cargo hold, the cargo that Min Q had replaced was ready. Explosives, hundreds of them, packed together tightly. They were not military weapons. They were construction materials that worked just as well. They were a merchant solution to a military problem. The Iron Dawn was moving faster than it had ever moved before. Min-Q could hear the ship creaking under the stress. He could see the Vorkath dreadnought getting bigger and bigger on his screen. He reached out and opened the communication channel one more time. "For Earth," he said simply. "For home." Then he pushed the button that would detonate all the explosives. The explosion was the biggest thing that had happened in that part of space in 100 years. The Iron Dawn simply disappeared in a ball of fire. The Vorkath dreadnought took the full force of the explosion. Its armor, which was supposed to be invincible, buckled and broke. The ship's weapons went silent. The ship itself began to drift, powerless. One of the greatest weapons of the Vorkath Empire had been destroyed by a merchant ship and a man who refused to surrender. The Vorkath fleet paused for just a moment. In that moment, the human ships attacked. Jiwan's fighter was moving so fast that the Vorkath targeting systems could barely track her. She fired her weapons with perfect precision. Her shots hit weak points in the Vorkath armor, points that Dr. Heywan had identified from research. Her father had taught her how to find these weak points. Her training had taught her how to exploit them. She fired, and Vorkath ships began to spark and fail. Engineer Sung Ho's 3 old patrol ships moved together like dancers who had practiced the same dance 1,000 times. They were not individually strong, but together they were something different. They attacked in a pattern, using physics and timing to overcome the Vorkath advantage. One of his ships took a direct hit from a Vorkath weapon. The ship exploded, and Sung Ho watched 40 brave people die in an instant. But before the Vorkath ship could attack again, Sung Ho's other 2 ships had combined their fire and destroyed it. The battle was chaos. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Ships exploded. Weapons fired. People died. But the humans kept fighting. They kept moving. They kept attacking. Commander Teo was in his own fighter now, flying beside his daughter. They had been separated for so long, and now they were together. Now they were fighting to stay alive together. "Father, there is a Vorkath fighter on your left," Jiwan's voice came through the radio. Teo turned his ship and fired. The Vorkath fighter disappeared. "Thank you," he said. "Take better care of yourself," Jiwan replied. "I just got you back." At Meridian Station, Dr. Haiwan and Min Seo were watching the battle on their screens. They could see the human ships fighting and dying. They could see that the battle was not going well. The humans were brave and clever, but they were also few in number. "It is time," Dr. Haiwan told Min Seo. They began typing commands into the computer system. Commands that would activate the wormhole, commands that would use the power of space itself as a weapon. The wormhole began to glow. It became bigger and bigger. Energy flowed through it. Space bent and twisted around it. The Vorkath ships, which had been moving in a straight line toward the human forces, suddenly found themselves caught in a gravitational field. The wormhole's pull was not gentle. It was violent and terrible. Vorkath ships collided with each other. Vorkath ships were pulled toward the wormhole. The formation that had been perfect for conquest became a disaster. Overlord Vexathon saw what was happening, and for the first time in his long life, he felt fear. The humans had used science as a weapon. They had used knowledge to create something that could not be overcome by power alone. He gave the order to retreat. The Vorkath fleet began to move away from the wormhole. Some ships escaped. Others were pulled in and were never seen again. The human ships, because they were smaller and more maneuverable, were able to avoid the wormhole's pull. They moved out of danger, and then they continued to fight. But at the station, Dr. Heywan was hit by a falling piece of equipment. Blood ran down her face. She collapsed. Min Seo caught her. "No, no, no, do not do this!" Min Seo cried. "Stay with me! Please stay with me!" Dr. Haiwan opened her eyes. She smiled. "The wormhole is stable now," she whispered. "I did it. We did it. Humans do not surrender. Humans protect their own. Then she closed her eyes. Above the station, in the darkness of space, the battle continued. The Vorkath fleet was breaking apart. The humans were winning. Against all odds, against all predictions, against the greatest military force in the galaxy, the humans were winning. And everyone in the galaxy would soon know their names. The wormhole continued to grow. It was not a normal wormhole anymore. It was something new. It was something that had been created by human science and human desperation. It was a weapon that no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. The Vorkath ships that were caught near the wormhole's center could not escape. They were pulled into the gravitational field like moths drawn to a flame. Some ships tried to fight against the pull. Their engines burned and their structures bent, but they could not overcome the power of space itself, bent by human knowledge. The ships that managed to escape the immediate pull began to retreat. They turned away from Meridian Station and began to move back toward Vorkath space. But many of them did not make it far. The human fighters, led by Ji-Wan, pursued them. The human ships, led by Engineer Sung-Ho and Captain Min-Kyu's successors, continued to attack. The battle that was supposed to be over in minutes had become something different. The humans were still fighting. The humans were not surrendering. The humans were pushing back against the greatest military force in the known galaxy. But the cost was terrible. More human ships exploded. More brave people died. The 3 patrol ships of Engineer Sung-Ho had been reduced to 1. The remaining ship had taken so much damage that Sung-Ho could barely keep it flying. And yet, something unexpected happened. The signal that Dr. Hae-won had sent before, the signal that was supposed to be just a distress call, had been transformed by the wormhole's activation. The wormhole had amplified it. The wormhole had turned it into a scream that echoed across the entire galaxy. Far away, in places that no human had ever traveled, other species heard the signal. The Kalar people heard it. The Zithian collective heard it. The Merchant Union heard it. And they heard something that had never been heard before from human space, a declaration of war against the Vorkath Empire. But it was not just a declaration of war. It was something more. It was a cry of hope. It was a message that said, "We exist, we fight, we do not bow down." And other species that had lived under the shadow of Vorkath conquest for 1,000 years, heard that message and felt something awaken inside them. In the medical bay of Meridian Station, Min-Seo sat beside Dr. Hae-won's unconscious body. She had stopped the bleeding. She had done everything she could, but she did not know if it would be enough. "Stay with me," Min-Seo whispered. "Please stay with me. We did it. We actually did it. The humans are winning. The Vorkath are running. You have to wake up to see this. You have to see what you started." Dr. Hae-won's eyes opened slowly. She looked at Min-Seo. "What is happening?" she asked weakly. "The wormhole is working perfectly," Min-Seo told her. "The Vorkath fleet is being destroyed. The humans are winning." A smile appeared on Dr. Hae-won's face. "Then we succeeded," she said. "All the research, all the equations, all the hours of work. It was not for nothing." "No," Min-Seo said. "It was not for nothing. It was for everything." In the command center of the Defiant, Captain Dong-Su watched the battle with a calm that seemed impossible. He had seen this before. He had fought in battles that seemed hopeless. He had learned something in the Deep Black that most people did not know, that humans had a special quality. When they were backed into a corner, when everything was against them, that was when they became most dangerous. "Maintain attack formation," he ordered his crew. "The Vorkath fleet is breaking. We must not let them escape. We must show the galaxy that humans can stand against the impossible." The Defiant moved through the chaos of the battle like a ghost. It was fast and precise. Every shot hit its target. Every maneuver was perfect. Dong-Su and his crew were not just fighting. They were teaching a lesson. They were showing the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. A message came through the communication system. It was from a species that Dongsu did not recognize. A voice spoke in the Merchant Union language. "This is Ambassador Jalvik of the Kalar Collective. We have received the signal from Meridian Station. We are moving our ships toward your position. We will fight with you against the Vorkath Empire. No longer will we bow to conquest." Then another message came, and another, and another. Species after species was answering the call. Not because they had any loyalty to humans, not because they were friends with the humans, but because humans had shown them something they had almost forgotten how to believe in: the possibility of victory against the Vorkath. Commander Teo heard these messages coming through. He understood what they meant. The battle for Meridian Station was no longer just about saving a research station. It was about something bigger. It was about freedom. It was about the possibility that the Vorkath could be beaten. He sent a message to all the human forces. "This is Commander Teo. We are no longer alone. Other species are coming to join us. Today, we write history. Today, we show the galaxy what it means to be human. Today, we prove that we will never surrender." Above Meridian Station, the wormhole continued to expand. The Vorkath ships that were caught in its pull disappeared, pulled towards somewhere that no one understood. The wormhole was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It was the result of Dr. Heywan's knowledge combined with human courage and determination. Jiwan's fighter had taken damage. Her weapons systems were failing. But she was still moving, still fighting. She saw another Vorkath fighter in front of her. She fired what remained of her weapons. The Vorkath fighter exploded. Her radio crackled. It was her father's voice. "Jiwan, fall back. We are winning. We need you alive." "I am still flying, father," she replied. "I am still fighting. I will fall back when the fight is over." Engineer Sung Ho was also still fighting. His last patrol ship was barely able to move, but he was still in the battle. Around him, he could see the Vorkath fleet breaking apart. He could see them running. The Vorkath, the unstoppable empire, was running from humans. He laughed. It was a laugh of joy and relief and victory. The battle continued for 3 more hours, but its outcome was already decided. The Vorkath fleet was broken. The humans had won. But as the fighting stopped, and the Vorkath ships began to disappear into the distance, everyone knew that something had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. The Vorkath Empire, which had seemed invincible, had been defeated. And they had been defeated by a species that the galaxy had almost ignored. The galaxy had learned a lesson. It had learned that humans were not to be underestimated. It had learned that desperation, combined with determination, could overcome anything. It had learned that sometimes the smallest voice, crying out in the darkness, could change everything.